Hi, my name is Jason Young, and today we're going to talk about this book, Code to the Extraordinary Mind, and how it's helped me a lot with giving me a system to improve my life by. And it kind of puts a lot of things in perspective for other books. So, just to quickly touch in, this is the book I'm talking about, and it is kind of this guy, like Vision Lakhani, his cult, like for lack of a better word. He has this company Mind Lance and or Mind Valley, and it's a little culty, and they have like their own vocab, and it's really weird. But when I was first when I first found this book, I just finished this excellent one called Algorithms to Live By, and kind of talks about all these mathematical systems for improving your life and sorting algorithms. And it's like it if you're anyone who's really technical and kind of nerdy and into computers, it's a really, really good book to get them. But I was looking for something similar to that, and I came across this book on Audible, and I bought it, and I started listening to it, and the start of the book, like a good warning for is it's some of the most, what I thought to be like self indulgent talk I've ever heard of. And it's basically this guy just bragging about how he has his own company and he makes up these words like rules and discipline. It's like this corny ass thing. And I thought, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And eventually, 4 years later, I returned to the book because I'm like, well, I can't return it now on Audible, so I'll just listen to it. And he starts talking about these things, and he calls them systems for living, which are like your habits. It's just a really good way to think of habits. And it's like your systems for living. And then he has another thing he calls your models of reality, which is like the thoughts driving your habits in your mind. Like if your model of reality says that you're unattractive and girls won't like you, then your system for living is going to be not to associate, not to like ask people out because you kind of self sabotage yourself. And that's the example he gives from his own life in the book. But it's just this way of thinking about your self talk and the stories you tell yourself behind that cause you to do the actions you take. And then looking at your habits and how those eventually lead to the outcomes in your life. And it got me to thinking and really looking at what is my self-talk, like what are the stories I tell myself about how why I do what I do, like what are the habits that I have. And I started examining them, and one of them was I used to watch TV like nonstop. I'd binge shows on my phone. And I just looked at that. I'm like, why do I have that? Like, that is my system for living. So, what is the model of reality? Why do I tell myself I need to do this? And it was because I said, I'm bored and I'm making use of my time. But when I thought about it, I'm like, what do you mean I'm bored? Like, the saying my dad has of only boring people get bored. And I'm like, why am I bored? Like, there's so much going on, what's happening with that. Or another really, really great example would be when I quit smoking. I told myself cigarettes help me stay focused. They help relax me. They help me do all these magical things. And that just played itself out as me continuing the habit of smoking. So once I examined the story I told myself behind why I smoked, I then saw how it was stupid. Like cigarettes don't help me focus. I mean, some people say nicotine is a stimulant for it, but how can a drug help you focus and relax at the same time? Like, I examined the habits I had and was able to give myself perspective on it. And ever since then, I've taken up the habit of reading books, both fiction, nonfiction, and kind of looking to see like what is this person's habit. Like just the realization that you can switch out the models of reality in your head. Like your self talk that you tell yourself doesn't have to be necessarily the one that you keep around. Like you can change that. And just realizing how flexible it was really helped me start switching out and trying new ones. So a good example of switching out my systems would just be like I used to go to bed super early in the morning because I thought that was beneficial for ADHD, and it was, but it negatively affected so many other areas of my life. So then I started another one. And similar to dieting or working out, where like you try a diet, you see how it works out for you, and then you try a new one, a new one. You just keep on making sure you start trying new ones, and with each one, you eventually start learning how your body is reacting, how well you're performing, and then you start crafting your own. And sometimes when you switch, it's for the worse, but you realize that and then you make adjustments to it. And it's helped me a lot. And one of the key habits I've started implementing is just reading an hour a day. Because how else can you effectively expose yourself to new ideas? Like, you have to read books, you have to talk to new people, or you have to do some new activity to expose yourself to new belief systems, new systems for living in order to actually make sure your life isn't stagnating. Like if you don't like where your life is at right now or you're trying to better yourself in any way, you need to examine, well, have I actually gone out and tried any of these systems? Like have I made changes in my life? Right now, I don't know why I dropped it for some reason, but I used to do 200 push-ups a day, not for necessarily strength, but because I find dropping down and repping out 20 to be this wonderful boost for mental clarity. So I started doing that again, and then I heard someone talking about years ago, about a year ago, someone talking about the benefits of ice baths. I'm like, well, I'm gonna take that system from you and like carnivore from this person and this person's sleep tips, and I kind of like combine them all together, and I constantly am switching things out, seeing what works, what doesn't work. I mean, I sometimes you really mess up and you're like, well, I'm gonna grab this, and for me it was like I grabbed nicotine. I'm like, I'm gonna experiment with nicotine. Dumb mistake, like stupid dumb mistake. But I realized that and I got rid of it, and like you kind of learn and you optimize your path along the way. And the book talks about it. It is a weird read at the start, and you kind of have to push through it and cherry pick the good advice. But there is very good advice in there, even if it's extremely self-aggrandizing and just it's a weird start. But I recommend this book highly.